So this is an unexpected turn of events. I'm heading to the hospital with a suspected blood clot. Hopefully it's nothing, but you can never tell. So this is me. So I find myself in an ambulance going off to the hospital. What led up to that point? Well, I rang my doctor on Tuesday morning last week, and I was really wanting to see her face to face so she could check out my leg, the scarring on it, the tightness of the skin. Also, I was talking to her about my shoulder that was giving me a lot of pain. It's sort of, it aches because when they pulled me out of the canal, they lifted me by my arms. So it hurt, and it makes getting dressed and undressed really difficult. So I thought I was mentioning that to her so that she could give me some advice on it, and also give me a referral to the hospital for the physio. As I was going there for my leg anyway, it made sense to tie it all in. When she found out that my leg was swollen and had been swollen for 7 weeks, she told me, go to A&E. And I said to her, but you know, you're coming to see me tomorrow to check out these other things. Can you not wait till then so you can see it? She said, no, go to A&E. If you don't want to book the ambulance, I will book it for you. So I said, okay, go ahead. And I figured if she thought it was necessary to book an ambulance, it must be necessary. So that's what she did. And she said it would come within the next 2 hours and go up to the hospital and get my leg checked out. During that 2-hour time frame that I was waiting, it was probably a bit less than that, I got together an overnight bag because I still had in my mind the experience of when I went to Watford where I had absolutely nothing. So that's what I did. I got together some wash things and underwear, usual things you put into a bag, puzzle book, headphones, important things, chargers and my phone, and also my gimbal just in case I wanted to do some recording along the way, and all that went into my bag. So by the time the ambulance called, it was ready. I actually walked from the house to the ambulance with my crutches, and when I got in, they had only just come on shift. They didn't know my story. They didn't know the reason why I was going up to the hospital particularly, so they wanted to know so that they could take me to the right department. And so I retold my story of canal accident. I could have died, basically. They were very impressed with my scars on the back of my leg, and they had me lying down on the trolley in the ambulance, and by the time they'd taken notes of everything, seen my notes that Watford had left me with, my admission and discharge notices, they then took me up to A&E at my local hospital. They wheeled me into a cubicle, and I then waited and waited. Things don't happen very fast because obviously there's always someone that's a bit worse than you. So here I am back in A&E for a checkup about a blood clot. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping that it is nothing, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted. I don't know. What am I like? But eventually somebody came along and fitted me with a cannula. Now this is the needle that goes in your wrist or your arm or your hand. And so he fitted me one of those, and then a bit later on someone came and took my bloods. So blood results is what we were waiting for. After some time, someone else came along and took my blood pressure. And after another lot of time, they put me onto a chair that could be wheeled. It wasn't your normal wheelchair, but a hospital one. And they wheeled me into another room called chairs, and that's where people who came to A&E but didn't need to actually be lying down on a trolley could sit and wait, and so that's where I was put. The time was passing. I didn't really know what the time was. I guess it might have been coming on to about 9:30 by this time, and I had got to the hospital maybe at about 7, something like that, maybe 7:45, and I waited. They came and did my blood pressure again, and they asked me if I had any pain, and I mentioned my shoulder pain, and they said, but nothing else. And I said, no, just that. And so they took my blood pressure and then off they went. The longer I sat there, the more my legs started to hurt. The aches and the twinges and the sharp pains came and went. And I mentioned that to the nurse, and he said, okay, he'd talk to the doctor and see if they could see me sooner. So that's what happened. They then took me into another room, and the doctor came shortly and saw me, and we started moving things forward. She recommended that I would have an ECG and also a scan of my chest. Now, what they were looking for, and the reason my doctor was so worried, was because she thought I might have a blood clot. So that is why I was sent straight away to the hospital, and that is what the doctor that was speaking to me was looking for. And she said, we need to get these scans done to find out whether there's anything going on in your leg, and we will see how soon we can get things done. She then went away and I waited. So I was wheeled down to the X-ray department. I did have an X-ray, and then I was wheeled back up while I was waiting for the results. By this time, it was nearly 11 o'clock at night. I was wheeled into this side room, and I thought I'd just been forgotten about. And so I actually hobbled to the door and caught somebody and said that I was waiting to see the doctor, but no one had come to see me. So he went away, and then again sometime after that, the doctor found me and came and explained what had happened. Well, it's 25 to 12 now, and I've just been seen by the doctor. I'll be given some medication and then probably sent home. They are suspecting a blood clot because the bloods were raised, and I probably need some blood thinners. So we'll see how we go. But they're saying injections into the tummy that I have to do myself. I'm not too sure I can do that. So let's wait and see. But yeah, I'm getting really tired now. Oh well, at least they're being cautious about it, which is good. And she said everything seemed fine. However, they were still worried about the clot. They called me back for a scan as an outpatient, but it was too late by this time to send me home. There wasn't any transport available, so they were going to admit me onto the ward. So I was taken up in the wheelchair to AAU, which is an assessment ward, and I was put into a bed there. This was about 2 o'clock in the morning. The nurse had very kindly, just prior to that move, brought me a sandwich and some water and also some blood thinning medicine, which I took. And I went upstairs onto the ward. It was quite quiet there. However, one lady was listening to something on the television. This was at 2 o'clock in the morning. They installed me into the cubicle, into a bed by the window. And then the nurse came and said, I believe you haven't had much to eat today. Would you like something? So they brought me some toast and some jam and some butter and some tea. So it was all very welcome. My eyes were closing by this time, and I was thinking, can I eat or should I just really go to bed? But I ate something, and then I settled down to go to sleep. Sleep didn't come very easily. My legs started hurting and itching and feeling very uncomfortable. I was tossing and turning. So it wasn't really that good a night. I then got up out of bed and got my sleep mask on, and then I slept a little bit and dozed a little bit more throughout the rest of the night. They came to do blood pressure in the morning at about 7, I guess, and then somebody came on to do breakfast, by which time I was awake. It was probably about 7:30, 7:45, and they brought me a very nice breakfast of toast again, and scrambled egg and porridge, and this time marmalade. And I used the marmalade to sweeten the porridge because they didn't give me any sugar, and I just had buttered toast. Very nice breakfast actually, and the egg was scrambled with real egg. You could see the white bits in it, not powdered egg. And the porridge was real porridge. You could see the grains of oats in there. So very tasty, a lovely breakfast to set me up for the day. And I didn't know what the day was going to hold. but that was breakfast. So a while later, probably about 11 o'clock, the consultants came around. They still suspected that there might be a clot there, so they wanted to do an ultrasound on my leg, and they also wanted to do a chest scan. They said I might have to come back as an outpatient for that, but I told them I had a physiotherapy appointment that day at 2:30, so after some deliberation amongst themselves, they decided they would try and get everything fitted in around this physiotherapy appointment, which was at 2:30, and see if they could do it all as an inpatient. Again, time went really slowly that day, but I met some other people who had come in onto the ward that morning and had a lovely chat with the lady in the bed opposite me. And the time passed and I listened to music on my headphones. I dozed. I did puzzles from my puzzle book. And after a while, I was taken down to the scan room to get the ultrasound done. I got wheeled down there. They did the ultrasound and then they brought me back up again. We went right through the x-ray department for chest scans and a leg x-ray. We didn't stop there. We went straight back up to the ward. So again, a lot of time passed and I was moved this time from AAU to another ward, which was medical, because AAU is for assessments. I'd been assessed, they'd worked out what I needed to happen, and now they were moving me to another ward, to a medical ward. Again, made myself comfortable there. And they brought me lunch. And then more time passed. I was still waiting and waiting. And then later on, maybe 5 o'clock, they took me down for a leg scan, leg x-ray, that's right. We had a little bit of a joke with the, I don't know what they call the people that do the x-ray, but there was a man there that was doing the x-rays. And the nurse and I had been joking outside, and when we went in there, he said, "Oh, what happened?" And the nurse just piped up, "Oh, she had a fight with a tiger." And he looked at me and I said, "I'll show you the scars." And so I stood up and I showed him the scars, and he said, "Oh, do you work in a zoo?" And he believed me. I felt sorry for joshing him along. I said, "No, actually it was my leg got caught in a propeller, and when I fell off the side of a boat, I had to own up straight away." And he said, "Oh, that sounds even worse." So he wasn't cross with us for playing with him like that. So they did the x-ray and then I was wheeled back up to the room. Now at this point, by this point, they'd cancelled the physiotherapy appointment, and the nurses told me that I would probably be in for another night because the doctors had all gone home. There'd be no one to discuss my results with me. So I contacted my lift that I'd arranged to get home. I told my son I wasn't coming home for dinner, and so I was prepared to stay another night. Lo and behold, within the hour, the doctor came and he said, "Right, well, we've got the results back from the ultrasound, and you do have a small blood clot in your leg, and therefore you can go home. We'll prescribe some blood thinners for you, and you just have to take those as prescribed. But if you have got a clot near your heart, the blood thinners will take care of that one as well. So there's no point in doing the scan for your chest for any further clots. You can go home." Great. So I got busy packing up everything. I got dressed. I texted my ride. I texted my son. And I just waited. My dinner came and I ate it. I still hadn't heard back from my ride. And then while I was eating my dinner, my neighbours, who had agreed to get me home, rang me and said, "We're really sorry, we didn't see the text message. Of course we'll come and get you." And so they offered me a choice of 2 cars, one with a low seat and one with a high seat. So I chose the lower one, and she said, "My husband's on his way. He'll be with you shortly." So I quickly finished up my dinner. I'd already had my discharge papers and my medicine from the hospital. And the nurse wheeled me down to the lobby, and my ride arrived at the same time as we arrived downstairs. So all in all, It was a very exciting 2 days. I did not expect to be in hospital again. I am now on blood thinners, and there's a whole host of things that go along with that. I mustn't puncture myself. I must keep an eye out for bleeding gums because they might carry on bleeding. I mustn't bruise myself because internal bleeding could happen. And that's another thing I've got to look out for, internal bleeding. So it's an ongoing saga, if you like. So here I was thinking I was going to have a physio appointment, find out if I could drive, etc., etc. But no, it's all changed. However, I have driven, and that was before all of this kicked off. It was on Tuesday, I think. I did drive just in the morning, just up to the main post office to collect a parcel with my son, and then came home again. So I haven't forgotten how to drive. So that is an update as to what's been happening with me over this last week. The last couple of videos last 3 videos have been about the 3 days of cruising that we did. I've got one more video like that to do because we did start a 4th day of cruising and then I had my canal accident. So I would like to do a video about that. And then there's another video that I've got planned, which is when Peter got to Banbury and the boat went in for blacking, he and I had booked some accommodation, and it was touch and go as to whether or not I could go and stay with him, but I did. So a future video is going to be about our stay in the Fox Inn at Farthinghoe. Which way round I do those two, I'm not sure, but look out for those 2 videos. Our 4th day cruising up to Cowros Marina and our visit to Farthinghoe. Well, I've given you a lot of information in this video. I do hope that you have found it interesting. I do appreciate you watching these videos and also for your comments and care about my well-being. I so appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. So please consider subscribing to my channel. Please consider liking and sharing this video and any others that you might watch. And thank you for watching. So until next week and next week's video.